Hi, good evening, everybody at the Frollo community. I'm Susanna, and this evening we've got the most amazing expert. Ooh, it's very exciting. It's all about the secrets of happy blended families. And Scilla will be talking with us. So I'm going to hand over to Scilla so she can have a really lovely introduction about herself. But really, we're going to look at the challenges of blending family and why it's totally worth it. So over to you.
Hello, I am Priscilla, but for today you can call me Scylla, so it's less formal. And essentially, I am a certified stepmom coach, and I do coach stepdads as well, but they seldom come and talk about their issues, but that is fine. I've been doing that for about 6 years. I am the founder of the Stepmums Club, which is an online platform where we broach the topic of blended families, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. And on occasion, you may hear me on your radio or in the magazine, writing my top tips or just talking about, new things to consider when starting a blended family. So I guess I wanted to start by just sharing a bit about my journey and how I found myself in a blended family, because I'm not sure if any of you guys are in a blended family. It's not something a young girl dreams about. It's not the desire. Usually the desire is for that beautiful nuclear family where it's mom, dad, and 2.4 children, and it's all lovely and grand. But as time has gone by, obviously there's so many different family paradigms and dynamics, and there's breaking up and there's making up and there's starting all over again. And my journey began as a single mum. So when I was around 21, I want to say, in my approaching my final year of uni, I found myself pregnant for a fellow who did not want to be a dad. And that was a shock to the system. But I very much always hoped and wanted to become a mum one day. And although I was becoming a mum in the least ideal way, I went ahead with the pregnancy. And I was fully aware that he did not want to be a dad. And I was very prepared to be a single mum. I was raised by a single mum. To be honest, I had to do a lot down my journey of, seeing men and the value of men and fatherhood as I grew up. But then I was very much, single moms can do this. It's fine. You don't really need a dad about. And I went on with that mentality. But of course, when my daughter was born, I was like, oh, maybe I should tell him she's born. I told him after many failed attempts of him not showing up to see her. I just continued to journey on being a single mum, and I very much had to create my world. I guess it was nice in a sense that I didn't have to talk about anything or make any decisions with anyone. But of course, it was nonstop. I didn't have breaks. I didn't have the liberty to be sick. I didn't have the liberty to even be heartbroken, because when your kids are hungry, they don't really care. So just had to carry on and push on. And I did that for 3 years. So I was a single mom, completely lone parenting for 3 years. And then I came across my husband, who happened to have two children from two different women. And when we first started speaking, it was not romantic at all. In fact, I was encouraging him and saying to him that, he was quite worried that he would never find his happy ending, and one of his biggest fears was dying alone. And he said, who would want to be with me when I have two children from two different women? And I was encouraging him, saying, actually women don't look at things like that, but the fact that you're in your children's lives and you show up and you're thinking about you being with them, if you met a woman, it says more positive things about you. But little did I know that I happened to be speaking about myself, because as the months went down, we ended up in a situation, we fell in love, and then I want to say in between the space of a year, maybe less. We became official, our children met, we got engaged, and then we got married. So to be honest, we didn't really date. We just kind of went from one step to the next step. And I think it's really important for me to mention that, because I know a lot of people get stuck on when to introduce children to their new partner, or when their new partner has children, when to introduce the children, and worrying about other people's opinions and such. But it really is about really looking at your situation and trying to see what suits you, and not looking for, I guess I want to say, a cookie cutter guide, because you're not going to find one, much to the stresses of forming a blended family. But also, if you can gain that confidence when dating and then finally forming your blended family, you'll do well to make sure you fashion your family in a way that suits the actual personalities within your home. Okay. So after we got married, that's when the conflict started to kick up. And his exes and him, they really didn't have a great co-parenting relationship. And I was very naive and wanting to just go in gun ho. I'm a woman. I was a former single mom. I understand these women and all of that good stuff, but I was stepping on toes. People were not ready to accept that, their children have multiple adults around them. And yeah, it was really tough. Fast forward a couple of years, we found ourselves in family court. There was parental alienation, there was stepmom alienation. I went through a period of depression. And in the midst of that, I went on to have 3 more babies with my husband. So as it stands, we are a family of 8. There are 3 boys and 3 girls, and me and my husband. This year, we will be married for 8 years, and we've been together for 9. And I would love to tell you that everything is rainbows, but it still isn't. But the difference is I have a sound mind. I have a lot of tools in my locker, and I know how to mitigate against any nonsense that comes my way in the most peaceful way I can. And that essentially is my story from a single mama to blended family. Yay!
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable,
Yeah,
though.
it's a lot. It is definitely a lot, and it definitely helps to have some head knowledge when you're coaching people in blended families, or when they are dating and essentially getting ready to create their blended families. But I can tell you that I have a lot of lived experiences. So when I was talking to Susanna earlier on, she was telling me that you guys are super chill. And I was explaining to her just before you guys popped on that I did want to do something really structured. But as I said, everyone's kind of journey feels different. And there are very specific questions sometimes that people have. If you guys don't have questions for me, that's fine. I can give you some tips and tricks if you are in the dating stage or thinking about it, or just to give you some reality when it comes to uh, forming that blended family. But at this point, I would love to take any questions or comments if anyone has any. Don't be shy. You can
Yeah,
unmute
don't
yourself.
be shy. The more you put in, the more you get out. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
So if you want to, you can unmute yourself, and you can ask anything. Or if you're not
Really,
feeling as brave, then you can pop it in the chat box message part, and I'll read it out for you if you want me to.
absolutely.
Thanks for sharing, Scylla. I'm Basha,
Hi.
or, or anything, but I'm very open to the whole idea of blended families, and I get a lot of stick from friends. A lot of my single friends don't think it's possible and are very negative about it, but I just want to stay open-minded. So I guess what I'm looking for is that even before meeting someone, stage of, how do you introduce new people to your kids? And what's the best way of sort of telling your maybe ex-partner, and how long do you wait? I know it's all very individual and
Mhm.
everyone's experience is different and things, but I think I'd love for the world to be more like, I don't know if you've seen Stepfathers, the like comedy with Will Ferrell.
No,
But
I
it's
don't
a
think
very
so.
open and sort of like cooperative sort of thing because we're all adults, and I feel like
Oh
the
yeah, I
more
have seen it.
communication there are between exes and new partners, the better it is for the kids. Um,
Absolutely.
but it's just not the impression I'm getting from lots of people I know.
Right. So I want to ask, first question is, what is your co-parenting relationship like?
It's shit
Uh
at the minute.
really? Okay, cool. That shock.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't think I can call it
Oh, you never
co-parenting
thought that would be
anymore.
the answer, did you?
It used to be good when
Mhm.
we had separate houses. Um, then we started nesting, which is a bit backwards.
Wow, okay.
So I sleep, actually, I go on furlough tour every week that I don't have my kids. We do 50-50, and I stay with different furloughs that are really
Oh,
my
that's so
family,
nice.
um, when I'm not in the family home. But I've just got a new house, so I'm getting that before Christmas. So I'm hoping we'll go back to a more cooperative situation because we actually were great co-parents for the first year and a half, and then
Mhm.
it went downhill. And at the minute, he won't even answer messages. We're just talking through a spreadsheet, and
Mhm.
it's really hard. But
Mhm.
I'm hoping I can claw that back by the time I find someone, if I ever find someone,
Mhm. Mhm.
all of that. So I'm hoping to start from the point of still 50-50 and
Mhm.
fairly reasonable co-parenting.
I think what I would like to say is what's easier is if you really just take stock of reality and just say this is what it is. So, it's hard, but we need to put our kind of hopes and dreams and desires of what co-parenting should look like or what you'd like it to look like to one side and say, okay, how am I going to manage the way it is now? And so the way that things are now and the way that you're communicating, I think if you did meet somebody and you felt like you liked how things were going, it would be a good idea to open up the conversation with your co-parent. And, this could be done by email, probably better by email, because you've got time to edit and think about it. You can leave it there in the drafts for a minute and just talk about the idea of, and then gauge his reaction. If his reaction is negative, I'm not saying that you should stop dating. I'm saying that maybe letting him know where you're at, you should hold fire on that. But if you are holding fire on sharing your dating journey with your co-parent, then it's probably not a great idea to then be introducing parents, right? Introducing children to parents. Now, I say this not to say that his behavior controls when you're the person that you're seeing meets your child. No, I'm just saying that it's better to get over that hurdle first. Now, if it seems like you are now falling in love and you're getting ready to commit to this person and you want to be with this person, then you're going to have to introduce your child to this person out of respect for the person that you're dating and out of the fact that your child is a part of you. And so if this person has to make an informed decision about committing to you, he has to meet all of you, all of who you are, and have a realistic idea of the relationship going forward, right? So he would have to meet your daughter. And at this point, you would be fairly sure about one another anyway. And even if there was any bumps with your potential partner meeting your child, he would already be, or your partner would already be committed in such a way that you would then be looking for ways to iron the bumps out as opposed to bolting and saying, I don't want to be in this relationship. Does that make sense? In terms of your friends now, your friends or friends in general are going to be negative. We are all negative. I was negative. It's funny how, when someone tells you that you're ill with like maybe cancer, God forbid, cancer exists and that cancer is not very good. It's not very good. But if somebody told you you have cancer, you're going to actually say to the doctor, what exactly is that? What exactly is it doing to me? How do I manage it? You know, is it going to kill me? What you're going to start asking questions to get very specific about it. If you are not entering into a blended family, you're not going to ask those specific questions. You're going to have your snap judgments, your preconceived notions. You're going to pull out of the media, which, you know, paints a wholly negative view, unless it's comedic or lighthearted, of blended families. And that's what you're going to conclude at. So you can't really expect your friends to be supportive. You are inevitably going to get into a blended family. So you have to get confident about that all by yourself. Or you find a community of other women who are venturing in that and get confident with them and get encouragement with them. And anytime you're feeling a bit wobbly, you go back to that network, that community. When your friends see that you're happy in a relationship, they'll get on board. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I suppose I wasn't sort of being negative about my friends and wanting my friends' validation. I'm going to do what I think is right for me and my family anyway. But
Good.
I think I just get so disheartened with how negative people are about it. And I know there are hurdles to overcome and stuff, and you have to be guarded and protective of your kids. You know, make sure it's serious before you introduce them and all these sorts of things. But it's just, I just feel like there's a stigma, like, oh, don't even go there. But
yeah, absolutely. And that stigma is very, very real. And it's very good that you're aware of it now, because you can start to mitigate against it. And what I always say to the women that I coach is that, yes, there is a stigma, but when you are becoming a step parent or you're introducing a step parent into your family, you have to design what that looks like. So it's about talking about family values. It's about talking about expectations, wants, non-negotiables, all of that stuff. When you're very clear about what your family looks like, and if you even want to call it a step family or blended family or just a family, yeah, then when you are met with the kind of stereotypes and the feelings that come with the stigma is kind of being imposed on you by like remarks or comments, I'm telling you, it's going to be water off a duck's back. Right now you're feeling it because you're not really in it, but once you get in it and you start to carve out what your family looks like and what it stands for, you are going to not feel the effects of the stigma as much as you are thinking of it now. I'm very sure about that. So you got to take my word for it.
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for your question. Okay, so we've got another question. I'm a single mum for 3 years and I've been dating a guy at a very slow pace for just over a year. He has met my son after 9-10 months, but he doesn't mention me meeting his 10-year-old daughter. Should I be worried?
Well, I don't think you should be worried at all. But you should ask questions if you want to meet his daughter. So just because he met your child doesn't automatically mean that the other parent is obliged to do the same. But if you feel like you want to meet his child because that's a natural desire, this is a young person that is a part of you, and you want to know fully who this person is that you're dating, you need to be very upfront about it and say, is there a reason, or what would I be able to meet your daughter? That would be the first question. And if it's a no or I'm not ready, then it would be questions like, is there anything that is stopping you? Can we talk about it? Just so I'm clear. And then it's about you, I guess, honoring what he says, or then putting into play how you feel about that, and then moving forward from there. It's really hard for me to exactly comment, because you would really need to understand if there's a reason why he hasn't introduced you to his daughter. But if there really isn't, and you're taking it slow and you're quite happy with the pace, then for sure there's nothing to worry about.
Could there be anything that you would recommend to possibly start off as a first meet? So when you're going to start meeting children in general within a cross-blended families, is there anything that you would suggest as like a first meet or a first thing to do that's maybe not as over emotional, or it has any,
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the park. Go to the
Yeah.
park, go trampolining, laser tag, go bowling, do something where the focus is on the activity. So you're really getting to see the personalities of everyone, including yourself, just being playful and happy. It doesn't have to be deep or serious. It doesn't even have to be, this is my girlfriend, this is my boyfriend. It doesn't even have to be like that. It's you're just out, two adults, you guys present as friends. Children really don't need to know anything deeper than that at that moment in time. And you just go out and you play and you see what makes people giggle, what interests are. And yeah, it's just very casual and comfortable. So yeah, just
Perfect.
go and play, but not the cinema, because everyone has to be quiet. It's not
Yeah.
helpful.
Imagine pass the popcorn. That's about it, isn't it?
That's it.
Jen has just said, thank you very much. I'm not sure if it's child's mum that might not be happy for us to meet.
Yeah, it definitely could be that. And then if it is that, hopefully he would be, open enough to tell you. But then you're going to have to consider a lot of difficulties that he may be facing. So I think one thing that you want to, if it is that, one thing you want to lock into is that it's not that he doesn't want you to meet his child. It's just that he's struggling to make it happen. And that's a good thing. That's a lovely thing.
Amazing. Another question. How would you suggest navigating parental loyalties to an alienating parent, the ex, where the children are channeling resentment from this parent along with their own fears? Especially when this is directed towards your own child.
Oh, how would you suggest navigating parental work? Well, if it's towards your own child, then boundaries need to be put in place. And when I say boundaries, I don't mean the buzzword boundaries. I mean boundaries in a sense of, so I just want everyone to be clear. When you set boundaries, the onus is on you when the boundary has been breached. It's not about controlling anyone else or manipulating anyone else or making them do what you would prefer. But the onus is on you. So if someone breaches a boundary, then it's how you change direction. In the very first place, I need you to talk to your partner and make sure that they're aware of what's going on. And then see if your partner can speak to the children about what is happening. If you've tried that and there's nothing that your partner can do, then you need to start limiting time between the children. This is not because you don't want them to get along, but it's because you also, how old are these children? Because if they're over 10, you definitely can highlight what parental loyalties are to them. Oh, absolutely. So not you, but your partner can sit down with his children and explain to them what parental loyalty is and how it can negatively impact a family that is separated and forming other household families, right? And so that they can be more aware of their actions now, right? So they can be more aware of their actions. Now, if there's anything that they can't, if there's nothing that changes, what you need to have in your mind is that these children live with this parent probably the majority of the time. This is the resident parent, and there's not much that can be done about what is happening in their home. Also, children are sometimes loyal because they get punished. There was a client that I had, and something happened with the child, and the child went and told the dad. And when the mum found out that the child was very open and honest with their dad, that child got beaten, right? So these children know their parents, they know their resident parent, and sometimes children may be presenting as loyal, but sometimes they're doing what they have to do to keep peace for themselves in the house that they are in. What I would say is, if these children are being manipulated and your partner doesn't have much influence on that, there's one of two ways. You have to step back and you allow him to be a father to his children whilst protecting yours, and navigate your relationship that way until things begin to change or more access can be had, so he can have more of an impact on their behavior. Or you go to family court, and the amount of time that your partner has with the children get increased. But when you do things like this, you have to think about how it will impact your relationship, because however things are functioning now, if he is to go and have his children more often, that's going to impact you, and it's not something you can take back. So there's a lot to consider. But in the very first place, if I wanted to just give you a general piece of advice, is you want to protect your own child, because your stepchildren have mum and dad in their corner. Your children only have you.
Yeah, she's put that those are the options being considered, and I'm in the process of moving out with my child.
You will live together. And so what was his response? So you've spoken to him about this, and he has said, if you don't mind sharing, if you do mind, that's fine. Give you a minute to type. Yeah.
Maybe because he's about never seeing them again.
Yeah, and that's a fear that a lot of fathers have. But sometimes that's really not the case. And I know it's really hard for a woman to say to a man that the court system is not always against you, but they're more so for the child. It's really hard, because it would seem that mums have the power in any scenario over dads. But he needs to take a leap of faith and go to court. If he feels like his ex-partner has liberty to keep his children away from him and alienation is already beginning, he needs to get on to the family court and stop it. Because when they are 13, when you get to court, they can make a choice whether they want to see the dad or not. And there's not much the courts can do. When they're 7, they're reaching the age where they can make a decision also. So
I would disagree.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would disagree. It's actually, it's the court would consider if the child is able to understand the repercussions of their decisions. So it follows the Gillick principle. If a child is able to understand the implications of their decisions. So
Yeah.
it's around 12, 13. So that's why I asked the question. It really does depend on the 13-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. It always does. But what I'm saying to you is that is an option. That is an option. So if they do find that the child is fully aware and understanding and has decided that they do not want to see their because there is I think they're called CAFCAS. Yeah. They would intervene, and they would be the one to liaise with the children.
CAFCAS would always generally follow the principle of it's around 11, 12, they would be interested. 13, definitely. 14, game is over.
Yeah, right. And they were the ones that are very well versed about children that are being alienated, and they can usually see the signs, right? But there are some children that can decide, and they will honor that. So I'm mentioning it as it is an option, and also it's good to have some urgency about these things. If alienation is beginning, it's good to start now than to
absolutely
sit and be worried about the mum potentially keeping your children away from you if you then stand up for the family that you live with, right? Because you want all of the children to blend together and you know, get used to each other and grow together and essentially be like siblings or at least friends, right? And you don't want anything to put a pause on that. But right now, his fear is putting a pause on that. So I'm saying that the potential outcome and everything is case by case, just so that there can be some urgency.
Yeah. She's also said that it's been a few years now, and he's coming to the point of releasing, walking away because he's worried that Cole will be detrimental to them. But the 13-year-old is empowered by their mum to do as she pleases. They've been to mediation about 5 times, and the mediator pretty much told the mum to stop calling these meetings. I mean, not to overtake from you, Celia, by any stretch of imagination, I would just like to add my little input in the sense of the mediation. I had to go to mediation more than 5 times with my ex-husband because he felt that I was alienating our eldest daughter against him when it was like their situation. And he kept calling these mediation meetings, and every time we went to them, it was the same thing, and he just wouldn't take responsibility for what he had done. So in the end, I did have to go to family court, and it was okay. It wasn't the best thing, and it wasn't the worst thing. It was okay. And what I had to do was speak to my daughter, and she was 10 at the time. And I had to say to her, the only way that we can stop you being so upset, still in counselling, etc., is that we have to make it clear how you feel.
Yeah.
And I keep going to these meetings. He keeps thinking it's me, but, you know, and she had her voice. But unfortunately, it took that then we had to go to court, and I went with her, and I wasn't allowed to say anything other than my name, etc. And then bless my daughter, she said, and she was phenomenal. And you could just then tell that once we did that, the relief off my daughter was phenomenal because her father had no choice but to listen then. And although that was awful, looking back, that was like 7 years ago. I don't regret that at all because I felt that we were just banging heads and being against a brick wall all the time, and there was no other way that it was going to get resolved.
I think that's a general misunderstanding of the court. The court, I think parents think that they are the number one. The family court is very much around the child.
The children,
so if the child is old enough, and as I said, you could have a 10-year-old who's very mature, and if they're able to understand the implications of their decision, you could have in the case of my youngest son, he's not able to understand, even at the age of potentially 12, the implications of his decisions. So, it's a balance, isn't it? It's always about the child. And I think the fundamentals of family court was established very early on. It's about the child's right to see the parents.
Yeah, both parents, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm not a loggerheads with you. It's just obviously it's the age thing. There's a difference between the age of 10, 11, when we know that our child is probably not able to make that decision. 12, 13, it's getting very close. 14, game over. My eldest decided not to see his mum. Okay, fine. I'm not happy with that. I'll make that very, very clear. I've made it clear to his mum. I've made it clear to him. I don't think it's healthy. Age 20, game over. He's decided fundamentally he doesn't want to see his mum, which I think's very sad. I don't think it's healthy, but ultimately what we're trying to do as resident parents is guide our children in the best way. And as long as you fundamentally focus on that, blended or not, I don't have experience of blended because I'm not in that position, but I wanted to join this call just to, listen to people who've got that experience. And it's amazing that what people are doing and experiencing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
No, it's amazing what you've done and Susanna's done. Absolutely.
you.
It took a lot, Simon, as you know. I've known you for a very long time. And
I know, but it doesn't matter. You've managed to do something that I've yet to do. So congratulations.
oh, bless your heart. And then on here, it's like, as a woman, it's very hard, especially now that they have a child together, and she wouldn't want that to be the cause of them not seeing each other. Old enough, yes. And I think that even for me, there were times when I felt that my elder daughter was too young, but the upset that it caused her daily and constantly, and all of the awful stuff that happened within that, I felt she had to make that call for herself in that moment. And I feel that she can still change her mind. Like, she doesn't see her dad, my younger one does. And I feel as time, maybe when she grows older, who knows? My parents were divorced. I never saw my dad till I was 42 years of age, because it took me that long to accept it, to understand it, to be much calmer in my own life, to be able to speak to him about it, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I think it just varies, and it's not, maybe, I don't know, do you feel things are like set in stone? Whereas, so like, if any child then felt, no, I don't want to see the other parent, surely that can't be set in stone anyway, because they grow, they evolve themselves and have a different understanding along the way, surely. So
Yeah, I'm just reading here. When you say sibling rival, oh, there's more. Oh, sorry.
yeah. So there's been simple rivalry. She tells him stuff like his dad didn't want him. And that's why he's thinking of walking away to avoid the mental strain on the 7-year-old. And she just doesn't know how to feel about it.
Honestly, I can understand how distressing this is, and also this is something that I've been through. So I really empathize with you. But I think right now, the siblings being together, that's one thing. But I think the most urgent thing here is about your partner and his relationship with his children, the 13-year-old and the 7-year-old. And I think yeah, like I said before, your child needs you as mum, but your partner needs you to support him. And I'm so happy that you don't feel like, yes, walk away, and that you're in two minds about it, because obviously you can see how much it's hurting your partner and hurting the 7-year-old. But I think, what does your partner have access right now to the 7-year-old? Okay, but in the meantime, what I would say, and what I've said before, and it does make a difference, is in the in-between times, whether it's via email, iMessage, whether it's a call, to make sure that this child knows from daddy's mouth how much the child is loved. And even if there's time, like, this child needs to know, even if there's long periods of time when you do not see me, don't believe anyone that says I don't love you, because I do love you. Not naming names, not saying your mom, not saying anything like that, just saying no one in this world should make you believe that I do not love you, and constantly affirming him. And in the time that they are separated, he needs to go to family court and believe that the court does what it does for the children and not for one parent or the other. And not to have that fear that if he goes to court, then that's it, his children will be taken away. There's going to be some type of arrangement that benefits the child, but he needs to take that step forward.
And they were just saying that they used to play every week, and then mysteriously he's been removed from his gaming account.
Yeah, I mean, even my children now, they haven't seen both of their brothers in so many months, and every now and again, it's met with, "Oh, I miss my brother. When's my brother coming back?" Constantly bombarding their dad, and it really hurts, my husband. But this, like I said earlier, it's about taking stock of reality. This is what it is, and we take comfort in the time that they were with us, that they know that they're very much loved. And there was a period of time before when when one of my sons was much younger. He was we were alienated from him for about 9 months. But this boy somehow knew, that he was very much loved, and he loves his mum something rotten, but he knew that his dad loves him. And when we went to court and we were finally reunited with him, although he's been taken away again, we were reunited with him for, I want to say, about good 3-4 years before he was taken away again. The embrace, it was just an embrace. And I remember him coming home, and I said to him, "Do you have any questions for me? you know are you worried about anything?" And there was nothing. It's like he had never left. And I'm telling you, like, I don't want to tell you that children are resilient in a way that we don't really take care of their mental health and be really, watchful. But I want to tell you that they're resilient in the sense of, if they know and believe something, that they will hold on to it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So you want to fill the children's mind up with lots of affirmation of love, and "I'm here for you, and I'll never leave you, and time will not change how I feel about you." It feels small, but to really young minds with really big feelings, it makes a difference. It does. I think there's another one. Is there?
Yeah, thank you. It's all down to him. It's just a disheartening situation. I told him he needs to just rock up at the house, park outside, and sit in his car. The ex is abusive, so the trauma from that, I'm sure he relives every time they interact.
Yeah.
I'm definitely show him this recording, and thank you very much for recording. Oh, it's our
Yeah.
pleasure. Listening.
And honestly, consider coaching or therapy, because it's going to really help you to cope with really hard situations, and just give you the tools and just things that you need to be mindful of for your own mental health, going forward. Because it's amazing how these situations can one day just switch something off in your mind and leave you in a state that you would really rather not be in. And burnout can sneak up on you as well. Burnout doesn't come from, physical activity, but a lot of mental turmoil can leave you burnt out as well. So you should really consider working alongside a professional to help you manage this season that you're in.
Amazing.
Oh man, it's a lot. I'm so sorry. It's a lot. Well, look, I don't know if you're on Instagram, but definitely follow me. My inbox is always open. If you need a little pep talk or whatnot, I'm on hand to do that for you. Oh, okay. Hi. Okay. Let's say hi. Okay, all right. Cool.
You have to say a proper hi now, though, so Scylla
Yeah.
knows.
Honestly, I don't know who's following me unless you actually talk to me. And I remember everyone who talks to me. Like, I appreciate when people can share, their family ups and downs with me. It's special.
And it really is. And I think as well, because where you've been through a lot yourself, that just really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I
You
started,
feel so isolated and so alone, which is why Frollo's phenomenal, because you
absolutely.
start to not feel that way anymore. But to reach
Yeah,
out, coached and helped, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
it is.
It's such a source of helpfulness. Jeez.
For sure. I mean, when I started the Stepmums Club, it wasn't really about me being help to anyone, but I was looking for help myself. And I felt like there were so many questions that just weren't answered. And, for the most part, when the media want to show some sort of reality in blended families. It was only stories of celebrities that had so many resources and just live in a completely different world, like in a glass box compared to those of the everyday type. And so I came on Instagram because I'm really not that great on Facebook. And I just started to post questions that I wanted answers to. And I think as time went on, because I was the one that was asking the hard the hard questions and hosting these difficult conversations between women and men, and resident single mums and single dads, and really challenging the stigma of single mums who are the resident mums, because everyone wants to call them narcissistic, wicked, that they just hate, maybe they still love their partner and that's why they're being an absolute witch. They get a bad rap, as well as stepmoms who are called to be glorified babysitters, don't know what they're doing, stepping on people's toes. Who do they think they are? It's a lot. And then I got to a place where people started asking me questions, and then into a place where I could train and be coached and develop techniques as well as lived experiences. And honestly, I want to say, I can't say that blended families will get better if it's hard now. I can say that there are some blended families that are perfectly blended and they are thriving and it's beautiful and it works for them. But what I can say is that you do and are able to get to a place where even in the storm, you can be steadfast and have peace. That can definitely happen irrespective of all the chaos that could be around you.
Absolutely.
It will come. Yeah,
Absolutely. It comes in eventually.
Yes, and with some skill. I mean, I think a lot of people do feel like, even I once thought that if I just sit back and weather the storm, somehow I will emerge strong. But actually, you do need someone who has been through it to teach you how. Because it can take you under. And I think even when I was younger, I was fairly young when I became a mum, but there was, a lot of mums, on the TV talking about real experiences, and motherhood chats became realer and realer to the point where now we're talking about how we bleed after we've just given birth, and it is getting graphic and all sorts. And I think it's great because some people want an inside before they get inside, so they can brace themselves. But we haven't quite got to that place with blended families and specifically stepmotherhood, because the stigma feels heavy, such a very heavy burden. But I think the more we have these conversations, the more we feel emboldened and empowered. You can have people in blended families go to their corners of the earth feeling really confident and spark confidence in the next. And then hopefully, we'll get to an age where blended families, as common as they are, feel common and are spoken about with care and with a want for progression and success within those family types. So this is a great conversation to be having.
Absolutely. And thanks to everybody this evening for your questions. I'm sure Celia has been super helpful. But yes, you can reach out to Celia. No problem at all. If anybody doesn't follow you, you can look at the Frollo posts, or you can directly message me and I can send you all the links to Celia. That's no problem whatsoever.
For sure. And know that I'm not salesy at all. If you come to me with a question, I'm not going to then give you my fees and rates. This is very sensitive. It's definitely case by case. But if you're open, I'm quite willing to help where I have the time. I would like to say that you can look back at my old posts. I do not create content as much as I used to, which is a shame, but I'm actually a homeschooler as well. So I do have my oldest who is in secondary school, and then I homeschool my 7-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 2-year-old. So it's super busy, and I have a couple of chronic illnesses to boot. So creating content is not always easy, but I have time for this. I have time for actual interaction. So if you talk to me, I will talk to you. But making content generally, maybe sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of time.
It
takes a
takes a
lot of
lot of time.
You're
It does.
far too busy lady. But I want to say thank you so very much for taking up the time to come and help out on the Frollo community. I really, really appreciate it,
Oh,
and
for
hope
sure.
have you back soon to help some more of our Frollos.
I really hope that this has been helpful. I know sometimes it feels a bit much, or it feels a bit like this doesn't sound real, this is all very dramatic, or it feels like we're not going deep enough. But I really do hope that you have been able to get a couple of nuggets, or you've been
Absolutely.
enlightened in some way. And I'm really grateful for even those who have been silent. I really hope that you've taken something away. Please do reach out to me if you feel like you do have a question that you didn't want to share here. And other than that, I really hope you guys have a great week.
Oh, and thank you ever so much. You've had lots of thank yous, learned a lot.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining this evening. Have a really great evening,
Yeah,
and we'll catch up with you all soon.
great.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And we're out.
And we're out.
Okay. I hope that was all good.
Amazing. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Apologies for Simon. He's in quite a tricky place. His wife left him with 4 children on his own, had an
Okay.
affair with an exceptionally wealthy man, and does not want to see her children.
Wow.
So she moved 5 hours away from them. And bless Simon, he travels from Manchester all the way down to the Cotswolds to try and get his children to see their mother. And she is just like awful on every level to them.
Oh
And they
my
still praise
goodness.
their
They
mum.
want her. Of course they want her.
Of course. And Simon wants them to want her, but then they don't want her now because obviously they've been in this roller coaster for a
And
couple of
he
years.
doesn't want her. He doesn't
No,
want to see her.
no. It's
That
just
is
so
so
bad.
hard. That
So
is so, but no, I really appreciate his input. You know, much to my pleasure, he didn't seem to be, you know, objecting to anything that I was saying. But you know,
no.
I could tell that he had strong feelings, and
Mm.
that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's always good that a man wants to express, and he seemed to be. I think there was one other guy there. Maybe I think I saw